Yeah, yeah, you know that I hate being alone, yeah. 아직에 원만 이놈만 생각하는데 난 원래 질투만 하는데 You looking so fly again 난 친구 사이 남아서 We better be better friends, oh no We better be better friends Oh, 이러면 되는데 Oh, 겁이 많아도 I'm taking all my chances, babe I've been wondering 시간 되는지 5시간 차이 나도 You're my queen I've been going on through my phone, yeah 문자 많은지 알고 싶어서, yeah You've been calling, hitting on my line, babe 이제 니들어 하기 싫어져
You always hit me on my line, baby. I was thinking about you all day lately. You got me feeling so damn wavy. Take a couple pulls of you daily. You're never all alone, alone. You're never all alone, alone, alone. You're never all alone, alone, yeah.
말해줘 이 머릿속 원하는지 하고 싶으면 좀 말 I wanna know, yeah I'm not alone, yeah 후회되지 않게 tell me 지금 좋아하는지 I could pull up anytime 난 기다리고 있지 You remind me of a time 그때 좋았었지 우리 연애 like a Rolex 비싼 여자애 I know this Fendi Prada You know this filthy writing on this note yeah. 지금 face 맡겨봐라 내 말 들어봐 yeah. 예전처럼 밤새 말도 못해 잠들어 yeah. You remember all those late nights 기억하잖아 마지막일지도 몰라 baby it's gonna be alright I've been going on through my phone yeah 문자 많은지 알고 싶어서 yeah. You've been calling hitting on my line babe 이제 니들어 하기 싫어져
You always hit me on my line, baby. I was thinking about you all day lately. You got me feeling so damn wavy. Take a couple pulls of you daily. You're never all alone, alone.
All right, welcome to another Reefing Report from the traveling RV. The real reefing guy, Terrence, is here, along with Mr. Saltwater Tank. How's going on, Mark Callahan?
I filmed, I came home. Terrence stayed and saw and filmed. And we have the Reefapalooza rundown for you tonight, along with some other stories. In case you weren't following this week on the reefingreport.com, we'll get you caught up. We'll talk about it, of course. We want to hear what you all have to say, so chime in with questions and thoughts as well. Share the stream across your channels. We're looking for, of course, all the followers and stream people coming in that we can get. So if you're not at the show, if you missed the show, thanks for being here. We will recap you on Reefapalooza. With that, Terrence, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, all of you who keep tuning in every week and telling other people about the show. We really appreciate it. It's fun. It's fun being here at Reefapalooza and having people say, "Hey, I caught the program. Hey, I caught the show. Hey, I love it. I love the format." It's been really, really nice. I don't know if you got any of that, Mark, but I certainly did. And it was definitely a really cool thing to know that at least we're reaching out there to some people and being heard. Sometimes you're doing this and you're like, I don't know.
What's going on?
Yeah, is there people out there actually listening? I mean, you get numbers and stuff like that, and we're doing pretty good on that in terms of our weekly live streams and other things. But yeah, you just sometimes wonder. This week too, Mark, it's been a little bit light because we've been busy, getting out here, and you've been doing other things, and I've been getting out here and then filming through the yesterday, and oh man, just busy. But there is a good bit of news, and what we're going to entertain you guys with hopefully tonight, in addition to the news that's on the page, the Reefing Report page, is kind of a rundown of some of the things Mark and I thought were cool at Reefapalooza. Give some comments on that. Give some get some questions from you guys, maybe of what we saw or what we thought, and get some honest feedback. So that's what we're going to do. And Ken Brown, right here, he says he's on the way over to the RV for drinks. I am actually in the back of the convention center, behind the convention center, in some empty lot. I mean, seriously, an empty lot. There's no trespassing signs. So it's, there's no Florida man that I've found yet. So it's all good for the number of days that we've been here, and we've quite enjoyed it.
So if Kenneth is coming over for drinks to the RV, I think you should somehow throw a mic on him and get his tank on the thing. Because if he's going to drink your alcohol, he's got to, he's got to contribute in some capacity. How's that?
Yep. I agree. This is Sam says, "What's up, Terrence and Mark? Sitting outside in Virginia, sipping bourbon and eating salami and cheese, enjoying a beautiful evening." Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I like doing that exact same thing, so I'm right there with you, Sam. So let's hop right into
the. I can see him with like a white launder napkin, like.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
Superb.
Yes, for sure. And also all you guys who have come out and left great comments on the stream too. Please keep the comments. Hit the like button on the videos, and of course subscribe to the channel. Before we get into the news, I want to give a shout out to some new Patreon members that we have that have come on board since the last program. So we've got Michael Kelly, who came on board. Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate that. And we also have Brian O'Toole, also known as Jake Speed, so who has contributed. And again, we really appreciate that. So, Mark, you want to get right into the news?
Yeah, you want to start with the news? You want to start with Reefpalooza? Your call.
Let's start with the news. All right,
and
then we can spend as much time as we want on Reefapalooza and have fun with it however we want.
So, okay, that's fair. So the big story of the week is that Betram, those are the guys who bought Bulk Resupply,
correct,
and then Ecotech, and then Neptune. They've now, the conglomerate, the companies that they bought, they're now mashing them together under a roof. They've changed the name of that. That'll probably is its own separate entity called Aperture.
Correct. So off of reefingreport.com, there is a link that takes you out to their press release where you can read the news about it. And obviously you can go to their homepage and read their mission statement, enriching lives through thriving ecosystems. So clearly they're putting together a group of companies that lives, I would imagine, is a double entendre, meant to be people's lives and pets' lives, right? At least that's how I would take it. Through thriving ecosystems. So clearly there's a focus amongst the companies that they will be connected all in some way, shape, or form to improving those ecosystems. And more or less in different ways, each of these companies does that, right? So Bulk Reef Supply provides education and obviously the tools that you can use to do that for your reef tank. And Neptune, it's obvious. Ecotech, it's obvious and where they're going. And the mission is, I have a hard time reading this sentence, but I'm going to try. Making, creating, and maintaining pet ecosystems easy through exceptional products and helpful information. So it's a little rough on the tongue, but okay. Sometimes nobody reads a mission statement, I guess, so it's okay. But that's
Isn't
what
there
it
a
is.
comma needed?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the. If it was my mom, she would smack somebody. That's for sure. But yeah, it's definitely all coming under one roof, and I'm sure that now things are starting to weave together. We can talk a little bit about that too when we do the Reefapalooza rundown, because obviously both Neptune Systems, Ecotech Marine AI, and Leap, not Bulk Reef Supply though, were all at the show in some way, shape, or form. So they're all coming together. And we've got to give all of this the benefit of the doubt for now and see how it all comes together for the better of the reef keeping community. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All we can do
is wait and watch.
Yep, absolutely. Got a cool little logo, I will say that. And like many companies, the name, I'm sure at some point has some sort of connection. Obviously, it's got the letters for the word pet in it. So Aperture has the word pet in it, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Maybe it's it's reducing and opening light. I'm being a branding and marketing guy, I try to figure out the thinking of this stuff if somebody hasn't told me. Clearly, the logo is the what they call the leaves of an aperture, like on a camera, right? So that's clearly what it's coming from, and it looks like a bunch of companies coming together. Since there's right now 5 companies, maybe they meant that's why there's 5 leaves on that aperture. So there you go. That's my take. But I'm sure I love logos. I love trying to see, what's hidden in the logos, like in the Amazon. We have A to Z, and Smile, and all of these different things. The swoosh, obviously, of Nike, which is speed and whatnot, and simplicity of that. So, but that's it. There's not much other news than that. The rest we have to wait and see.
Well, we'll wait and see. By the way, Steve said he's coming over for drinks in the RV as well. So it's about to get crowded in there, Terrence. You might want to lock
Steve's
the door.
not here. So
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, but he can pretend he is. He can virtually come over.
He was there.
He did come over. So
we're talking about aperture and light. Let's talk about the ATI Stratton Pro fixture. That we talked. That there's a video out on this.
Let's see the video.
Trailer. It's a trailer video. It's not like an informative video. It's a trailer.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, the one that I did for the Sky is kind of a trailer, but it told a story though. This is more of. You're right. This is more just of like, yeah. But we definitely. The good thing we got the audio working now. Oh, by the way, for those of you who did write comments about the comments when somebody makes a comment that it makes a noise when I put it on the screen, I think I fixed that. If I didn't, let me know. So I know that was annoying for some of you, so I took it off, right? But let's see if we can see this video here. Let's see if I can get it.
I have a challenge for all of you.
Of course, I'm going to have
every computer
I
in
don't
your
pay
house,
for
your
YouTube
mom,
Premium,
your dad, your
so
sister, your brother's
there
computer.
you go. It's like Close Encounters.
Smoke.
We have chips and LEDs.
That's where it gets good.
It is a good looking light, though. Even I will admit that is a sexy looking light. So there you have it. That is the ATI Stratton. That's what we know right now. Is it's epic, and it's a good looking light, no doubt.
But I got some stats on the thing, Terrence, which I think you'll love.
Okay.
Yes.
From whom?
So,
from their site?
Well, no. The site, I did not see anywhere that said I could read it in English.
Okay.
So I had to go to Aquacave Premium Aquatics, and Bulk Reef had it on their site. So something that I thought it was interesting, it says that its light source makes it superior to other LEDs because lights comes in from other sides, yet the coverage area is 30 inches by 30 inches. And I'm like, if you're talking about the light source, this larger light source, which sounds like spread to me,
right,
makes it better than other LEDs, but then the spread is only 30 inches by 30 inches. I'm like, the new G5 Radeon does more than that. I think the AIs do more than that. The Sky certainly does more than that. I'm like,
well, again, I think when people put together some of this material, I mean, it's all product marketing and how they want to write it up. So clearly, if I raise that thing up, right, it's all about what's the power, that it's putting down at what depth, at what height over the tank, at what spread. So it's all of those things together that then determine, how much energy you're really going to get out of this affecting the tank, right? Not reflecting out because of incidents and all of the other things. That's what all of that has to come together. So the fact that it covers 30 by 30 is missing the point, probably, that the coverage is 30 by 30, but it's going to be 30 by 30 with almost no shadowing, right? So because that panel covers so much of that 30-30, as long as the light focusing on it is not with too shallow of an angle, you're going to get all that light down, and it's going to be evenly intense over that 30 by 30, and it's going to be better than having a, even though the G5 is a panel light as well. It's more towards point source than that big panel, right? So I think that's really where the advantage is of these style lights, like the Sky. And this one is even bigger in a panel than the Sky. It's thin, okay? It's not necessarily without its drawbacks, because I haven't evaluated it. Not that I'm the be all end all. There's plenty of opinions on these kind of things, as I well know. And and so there can be a number of things that features and the way that it runs that may not be ideal, but at least in the way that it looks, it's slick, right? I mean, if you have the ability to hang a light like that, right? Again, you have to suspend it. There's not really a back mount kit. This is the problem with panel lights. But if you can suspend it like they did and over an open top, it looks pretty stellar.
I will say that it looks very clean for rimless tanks. I mean, even if you're putting it in a canopy, you almost hate to put that thing in a canopy because you're like, oh, it's so pretty. Then go live your life in a hole.
Yeah, and as Ken's actually saying, ATI already had a Stratton. Is this a new vision? Stratton's been out for a year. When you say out for a year, the thing is that out is relative. I mean, it's out there, but it's not out there. So not that many people have it. Very select few people, I think, have really tried it out. It's a super expensive light. I think the mounting probably limits a lot of people from wanting to get it. It's a niche product. It's certainly not a product like the Radeon or the Sky or a Kessel or what have you that can be mounted over a slew of different types of tanks and a slew of different types of houses and canopies and everything else. It's just not. So it's going to be more niche. And it costs a lot of money per watt, per par, whatever. So, but from a style, love it.
Very good. Very Euro. It works perfect with a rimless tank.
Oh, it does. And there's no fans and whatnot. If you can have passive cooling and you can run that thing at 100% for 12 hours a day and not overheat those LEDs, I'm a skeptical person at the wattage that they have. But if they did it and it works, bravo. Yeah. There's not a lot of surface area on that light, right? When you have a slab like that, there's a lot of mass, but there's not a lot of surface area basically to let the heat off, right? And so they're making it. It must work to some degree, and there's just not enough out there for people to give feedback either.
Yeah,
but the video is pretty cool.
ATI makes good products. We will say that.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, they've been around a long time.
See. So
100%.
The flip side of that, while we're talking about light, turf scrubbers, algae turf scrubbers, which require light. Sea Visions, who, as you said before in previous Reefing Report episodes, they claim to be the first people to make a roller mat.
Yes.
We haven't seen that substantiated, but they claim that now they have a roller algae turf scrubber combo, which isn't quite what it seems. It's not like this section is a roller mat and this section is a turf scrubber. It actually uses the roller mat to grow algae on it, and then it advances the algae. It advances the mat, which has the algae on it. So
very interesting concept, because you don't have to clean algae off of the mat things, right? Scrape it off and go clean it off, which is a total pain in the ass. And one of the reasons why I'd never have one on my tank, I'd need a big one anyway. But if I had a smaller tank, I probably wouldn't have such a thing because it is a pain, right? But this company in general, I encourage you guys to go out and investigate this company in general, because it's a really interesting sleeper of a company, right? They don't make that big of a quantity of products, right? They don't sell a lot, and they've been around forever. And the guy is a total inventor. I can't remember his name that came up with it, and he basically says, I've got a patent on the roller mat thing. I don't know if he's ever enforced it. I was the first one to come up with a roller mat. And then he has these other products that are really, really interesting. Like he uses dialysis filters that they use in kidney dialysis to clean water and to purify water from the aquarium or something. I can't remember the specifics of it. Have you seen that, Mark? Yeah. It's wild, right? I mean, some of the things that he has, And then the third thing that I remember from his thing, other than the roller mat and the dialysis, was a an automatic water change system that used saltwater concentrate, basically, to make up the water on the fly. So you had a vat of concentrated salt water that would then be sent in with the RO water that kept being made up to then make the proper, parts per thousand solution of salt water. But it was all electronic and had dosing pumps. I mean, it was elaborate. This is not like hokey stuff, right? In general,
Nope.
this looks a little
Nope.
hokey to me. I will admit, compared to the other stuff I've seen him do, this one looks a little hokey. It looks like it's got a pool valve control module on it, like from Jandy. I think it looks like a Jandy pool control valve that's probably turning that roller mat, which is creative in a way, and it's going into a little controller box. I don't know. This one's big, though. If I were to try an algae scrubber, this would be the size that I'd be trying.
You think it'd work on your tank? I think you should get one and try it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
you think he'd send one out to me? I'd send it back to him for me to try for a year and give it a shot and give him feedback. No,
probably not.
If it worked, I'd buy it, but I'm not going to buy it up front and find out.
I'm willing to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong on that one for your sake. Let's say that.
You have to wonder also how. So here's the deal, right? So Sanjay at MACNA out in Atlanta just a couple months ago gave a talk on nutrient export, and Sanjay had done some in preparing for his talk, which is one of the things I love about Sanjay, is if he knows he's going to give a talk, it's not just going to be off the cuff stuff, right? He will try to, for months ahead of time, establish some data and try some things out and whatnot that he is going to talk about. And so he was hitting up people on Facebook months beforehand to talk about algae scrubbers and how much algae you could make and how much time and how much that would end up being dry. And then some reports that said, well, this is how much nitrates are actually in this much weight of this much algae, right? And therefore do the math and go, okay, if you want to bring down your tank, X PPT, ppm, sorry, of nitrate, well, this is how much algae you would have to remove, right? A lot. Yes, a lot. Exactly. And so then when I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, if this thing starts growing algae on it, right? How much in weight algae could really get rolled up onto this thing, right? At the end of the day, that's where I would wonder, right? And did you even have enough take-up reel? Because it'd be thick. I mean, if it was really working the way it's supposed to. So I don't know. Be a skeptic, but if you send it out to me and try it out for a year, I'd put it. I have enough big enough sump. I'd try it out and give them the feedback, and we'd see how it goes.
All right, we'll have to see if that happens. But I pointed this out to you, and then you came back and pointed out to me that there was the same concept. I don't want to say the same thing because it's not the same concept that you saw at
integration.
So,
integration of an algae scrubber and a roller mat. Not in the same way this one does it, but yes, it's another take on it, let's say. But I think that's it for the news from the site, right? So you want to start the Reefapalooza thing?
That was a transition, buddy.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Oh, wait a sec. Let's all right.
You got to go back on your slides. So that being said, let's look at what we saw, what Terrence saw. These are Terrence's slides, but I'll chime in on this. I'll be putting videos out at saltwateraquarium.com of things I saw and things I covered. And of course, I feel like you're like the guy. Like until you have a grandkid, it's going to be pictures of Teddy, and then when you have a grandkid, it's going to be all pictures of the grandkid.
Easy on the grandkid.
I mean, that's okay.
Easy on the grandkid. So yes, I will help Mark plug to saltwateraquarium.com is what Mark was out here filming for, and everybody has a different take on the way that they go about getting video content and interviews and everything at the shows. And Mark does some great stuff for saltwateraquarium.com and does it one particular way. I've got the new channel that I'm doing called Real Reefing. And I just opened up the Instagram like yesterday or the day before. So if you guys want to go out and follow that and help me out that way, that'd be great. It's real.reefing on Insta. And obviously Real Reefing, all one word, out on YouTube. And so I was doing the same thing this weekend, talking to different people. walking around the show, really enjoying, getting out and seeing reef keeping friends that were the most of them together in a long time. And it felt really good. Wouldn't you say, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the vibe out of the show. The big takeaway, besides things that I saw in terms of an interaction standpoint, everyone was excited to be there. Everyone was walking around, spending a bunch of money, getting to see some cool stuff. There were some corals that I saw that I would have liked to take home. And one thing that was cool, it's not like it hasn't happened at other trade shows, but it was just cool to see again was vendors buying corals from other vendors. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
look at that. That's really cool. I want that. I'm taking that home with me. So they buy it for themselves.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, Teddy was making friends. He actually did really well all through the thing. This was parked outside from LAX Aquarium. It was quite nice. Not my color. Did not take it home with me. It's not being towed behind the motorhome now.
LA.
Well, I could tow it behind the motorhome. I just gotta,
Oh my gosh!
I trade in the Mini Cooper.
Oh my gosh! The amount of hate from the exotic car people would come out if you did that would be insane.
No kidding, right? So we had a good time with that. Teddy, after he spent a half a day, right? So we just kind of walked around for the first half of the day and didn't really do a whole lot of filming. And Teddy came back and he just crashed. So it's a lot of pictures of Teddy, right? That was our camp spot, buddy. That's where I am right now.
And if RV down by the river. Look at those mangroves, though. I mean, you got some nutrient export going on there, Terrence. Look at that.
There is no doubt I can do an eddy before I leave. There is no doubt, and nobody would know the difference, right?
Yep.
But the true story of the whole thing is I did go up the road a little further, not on this hard stuff that looks like it used to be a road back in 1936, but on the gravel side. And then there's some nice grassy area where, like in California, you can just go drive onto grass and it's not a problem, right? Because it's always a drought anyway or whatever. And so I start to drive out onto this little grass area, and it's sand under the grassy area. Okay. And the whole motorhome just went, and I am telling you, it was not a fun experience. And it was so freaked out for me that I didn't even grab the camera, because usually it's something like this, I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. I'll shoot this. I jumped out of my seat, went out, unhooked the car in like 2.5 minutes, and took some leveling pads, put it behind the one set of dualies, went around to the passenger side, looked under to the driver's side inside dually, and it was down. And I was just like, oh no, I'm going to get one chance at this. So I said, I'm not going to be able to go forward because there's already like a dam in front of the wheel. And so I said, well, what I need to do is I need to go back like 1.5 feet and then just hammer it forward, right? And get all of that 28,000 pounds, just going forward to get over that hump that's in front of the tires now. And so I did it, and it bounced it right out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was just crazy. So that was, that was an experience. So then I backed the motorhome back, 300 yards down the road and put it here and said, this is where we shall stay. And
there you are.
And there I am. And it's been very nice. Very, very nice. And the weather's been great too. So,
True.
And for those of you that want to look where I am right now, I'm actually sitting to the left there in the dinette area. And that's Nancy sitting in her chair. So, and Teddy sitting in his. So the world today, kind of shifted on its axes a little bit, because I went to the GHL booth.
And we're very mean to them.
I was not. I was the same kind of person I am with everybody that I give interviews to. And it was some good stuff that I think is going to be very informative, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure most of the viewers they already have heard of, or they kind of know what an ion, they've heard of the thing or whatever it may be, right? It's like, okay, it's going to measure a lot of parameters. Got it. What are all the nitty gritty details, right? How much is it really going to cost me? How long is this stuff really going to last? How much, is all of that kind of detail. I had a great conversation with Vinny, and that will be on the video as well once it gets edited up and pushed out there. So that's pretty cool. See these?
Yes, this is. I covered this with Saltwater Aquarium. I didn't know if you had. I was going to shoot you some pictures of this. These are cool. These are sumps, and at one level, like sumps are sumps.
Right.
But they had some really cool stuff in them. Like they're symmetrical. Some of them are symmetrical, so you can run them the water flow left to right or right to left, and you can do that with the same sump. So that was
Yeah.
really cool. They have lids around the skimmer area, which was smart. You like rounded a little bit. Also recessed the bulkheads, which I thought was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So
like not
that's a
going to
really
make or
interesting
break
thing
your
too.
tank, right?
It's they countersunk the bulkheads, and in the larger ones, the actual mount for the bulkhead is on a plate that's down
Mm-hmm.
below that you can remove, and put in another plate that they have for a smaller or a larger bulkhead, and then it looks really smooth on top. The lids are all done out of polycarbonate, so they're not going to go all wonky and
Yep.
warp and everything. The lid over the filter sock areas are super thick, heavy duty ones, so it's going to be quieter in that area too. Everything with the fit and finish was super nice on it. Had all the things you'd expect, probe holder, heater mounts in there. Had weirs in there for lowering or raising for a bubble trap area in that back right of the top sump there. All the edges perfectly kind of rounded over, and the corners just really nice work on that. Wire chase holes in the top with little plates to cover. So a lot of times you don't want to have a giant hole up there to put all your wires through, because once you get the plugs through, right, from what they are, say from your DC pump, then it's just a wire. You don't need a hole that big anymore. So these little cool little plates that then fit over right the top. So all you had was the little slot. And yeah, the whole thing was just very clean. It's called Luna.
Yep.
And they're evidently, it's not brand new. They've been using them here in Florida for a while with the Worldwide Corals installs
Yep.
and whatnot. And now I think he's branching out to go bigger with it, to go bigger with the stuff. And it's all laser cut and CNC'd. So definitely cool. So
Yes, I was impressed.
yep. And we see a
Definitely
lot of this
impressed.
stuff too, Mark. You know how it is. You see this stuff over and over to the point where you often don't stop because you're just tired of looking at the same stuff done in a different color by a different person with a slightly better or slightly worse construction technique, right?
Yes, there you go. That sums up. Did you
Yeah.
buy any coral, Terrence? No.
I did not buy any coral. I did participate in the raffle though, and dropped $100 in the raffle. And
What'd you win?
I did win something, so that made me feel okay, which I won a Khmer X1 doser, $150
Oh,
retail value.
the
There
thing
you
you've
go.
always wanted.
Well, maybe I'll feed my calcium reactor with it, I don't know. I'm using my PMUP right now to do it, but maybe I'll use the X1 and put it on some, I don't know. Because I don't know what the flow rate is on it, the top flow rate on the thing is. Do you know?
I don't know, but I think maybe that should be the premise of part of your channel, is that you use the real reefing is you use all new gear on your tank and none of it is Neptune systems, and you give your feedback on it.
I'll tell you what, I'll kind of do that, right? Which is maybe a lot of the stuff I'll run in parallel. How's that?
No, you got it. You just got to
No,
go
I'm
all
not
in,
going to go
buddy.
all in. There's no, I'm not going to do
And
that.
you got to what? You got to
I'm
do
not
it
gonna
as
do
like a
that.
former Apex user. What do I think? And then if you don't like it, then you can put your Apex stuff back on. But then that may be a little.
Well, but
limited
to be
because you
fair, I'd have
always
to
do
give it more time, and then if it blew something up and while I'm gone and killed my stuff, I don't know. Everything kind of runs, knocking on wood here, or for Micah, wood underneath. So I'm not really into that. I love your enthusiasm for that, but no. But there was tons of corals, and speaking of coral, there was a couple of pink pieces, and they were at Rami's place at Blue Seas, who's down in Fort Lauderdale, and his booth. He had a pink, no joke, not kind of pink, a pink acanthophilia. Okay,
Ooh.
it's like nothing you've ever seen. Okay, like a peachy
And you
kind of
didn't
pink
buy it.
color. $5,000 on sale.
You're on a fixed income now. You have an excuse.
I am. And I have Heniokas at home, so yeah, okay, that's an expensive dinner. But they also had a pink scolie with the coolest inside stuff inside the mouth and everything. And I got some shots of that. You'll see that on the video as well. And I talked to Rami kind of about the up and coming corals and what some of the trends are in buying right now. What things are kind of hot, what things are kind of tailing off now. That kind of stuff. So Mangroves. Julian was there again with mangroves, which a lot of people thinking lately, a lot of people previously, mangroves were like, okay, we're going to use this for nutrient export in our tanks. No, it's not going to work. Number one. Number two, growing them in 35 ppt salt water is hard. It is really hard comparatively to doing them in brackish or in fresh water. I have a really good discussion with Julian about this. It's not impossible and you can do it. It's just much harder to be successful. But what I loved about what he had at the show, and these aren't his, by the way, this is somebody else's. I'll have a picture of Julian in a second. What I loved about what I saw in his and these is it's now about plants. I just think this is pretty cool. They're crazy people with crazy hats.
Is that a family?
You gotta love them.
Yeah.
I think they're related somehow or another, but yeah, it was kind of fun. This is the same anemones I saw, Chicago sunburst or whatever in Magna in Atlanta. This is with frost
Tom
corals.
got excited about that. Yep. Tom is
Yeah.
usually on the stream. He's got to get excited.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so this is the Chicago again. These guys, Chicago sunburst, Denver's more expensive than Chicago. Denver doesn't replicate like the Chicago's will split, and there's all of this stuff about them. But the one in the back, it's hard to get perspective on scale of this because it's not fully open right here. But the tentacles on it, or whatever you call those things, I'll call them tentacles because they look like tentacles. It's not what they are. Just like gummy worms, just huge flowing things. And this is like the mama, version of it that's never been cut or split or what have you. And it's just huge. Very cool.
Wow.
And I talked to Scott Kohler at Red Sea. So Scott and I have known each other for a long time. And although it might have seemed like maybe a backhanded compliment, he understood what I meant, which is the same thing I've told you guys, which is I've never been super impressed with, Red Sea's, most of Red Sea's hardware products that they've come out with in the last 2 or 3 years. They're not very impressive. They seem like also ran kind of products. Not a whole lot of unique, selling points in them or what have you. And as I told you guys, I told him the same thing. This is the first product that looked like you guys from the ground up built. He's like, oh yeah, we from the ground up designed this thing. And I said, it totally shows. It's completely unique to everything else that's out there. The amount of effort, the amount of time, the amount of engineering work and product thought and everything else that went into this product is absolutely stellar. I saw a couple of things while I was there that I didn't even think about or see when I've been examining this over the past weeks, different weeks that we've covered this. And maybe Mark, you knew this already. Maybe did you interview him?
Yes, but not
Okay.
about the reef mat, about the new reefers. I've interviewed him in the past about the reef mat.
Gotcha. So what really didn't occur to me before is if you want to have this thing in your sump, you may not want to have that electrical thing going in the water side of your sump. You might want to have it on the other side, depending on which side of the sump this thing mounts in. And the whole idea that it's ambidextrous, basically, right? That black part that you see there can be snapped out and moved over to the other side. You make one little software tweak to reverse, obviously, the direction, and now it works on both sides. Thought that was just super smart, right? Another thing, it has a media basket in the bottom. I think I read that, but it just didn't occur to me really until I really saw him taking it apart of how ingenious that is, because I hate running, carbon canister stuff because I don't like taking stuff apart and cleaning it and doing all of that work, right? But if I can have carbon once in a while and throw it in something where the water is absolutely for sure passing through it, not maybe goes through it, maybe through osmosis or whatever, makes it through a bag of whatever, it actually flows through it. That's really cool. That's a 2-in-1 solution, and without taking any more space, that's awesome. I think it's the greatest, kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the third thing is the electronic water level detector that's on it. So some people use optical sensors, and even at Neptune Systems, we've had plenty of difficulty with optical sensors and water incursion and whatnot. And not to say that this sensor couldn't have water incursion, But this one uses titanium rods basically that, create a circuit or close a circuit, and it goes down over the edge. So you have an inside and an outside one. And that way, which is something didn't occur to me because some of the products don't have this, by the way, strangely enough, which is you obviously need one on the inside because that's how most of the roller mats work. The water level starts coming up because it can't flow through the fabric because it's clogged up, and then it advances it, right? But what if you turn your pump off in a feed mode or something like that, and the water level comes up, right, in your sump? You don't want this thing all of a sudden to also go off and then start advancing things or getting all the goo. I mean, there's all the different things that can happen. So having that sensor on both sides and having it be titanium, I think, is a really cool thing. So I'm a plus for the product. If you're gonna have a roller mat, I'm not saying I'm a roller mat advocate. I'm kind of neutral on it. But if you're going to have a roller mat and you have a tank that'll be for this size of the ones that they have, this is the one I'd go with right now.
I agree. Absolutely.
So,
Hands down in that size, it's the one to have.
Yep, exactly. So let's see, what was next? Oh, here we go. So I saw one truly innovative thing at the show. There's lots of little things, and companies have new products, and there's a little feature on a sump here or that or what have you. This thing here was a true piece of innovation. So first of all, do you remember maybe a couple of years ago the guy who made the food popsicles that you froze and then you stick them in the little thing and then they slowly kind of melt down into your tank to feed throughout the day? It's clever, right? So it's a clever idea. It's not going to work.
Didn't work for me.
It didn't work for you, right? So it like many things, sometimes the execution is not as cool as the idea. But I'm all for all of these people who basically put it out there and try some of these things. So this is actually a skimmer, okay? Doesn't look like a skimmer. You first look at it and you're like, oh, another roller mat. What do you know, right? So this goes into your sump, and basically there's a pump in the bottom with a fractionating disc on the pump. Oh, look, somebody says, wake up, Mark. There you go.
Oh,
They're giving you,
geez.
they're needling you, Mark.
They're needling me and they can't even spell my name right. So, okay, that's fine. Hey, we'll throw that one back.
Sure. And I love here. I saw Chris Clevin here is on this. He spoke to that guy. Very, very cool. I mean, the only issue is it's very tall. And I love it because Chris is an inventor dude. So he's like, inventor dude, commenting on inventor dude. It's what we do. It's like, it was good, but, it's always the way it is. But, I try when I look at these things too, to just go, wow, okay, there's a lot of stuff I look at and go, whatever. But this one has some merit, in my opinion, in that what happens is, first of all, you don't have to have a skimmer, doesn't have to be round. Okay. That's a fallacy. All it has to do is blow bubbles, and the bubbles have to rise up to the top, carrying up the proteins. Done. How you get those proteins and the scum and the dry skimmate and whatever out of the water, okay, is traditionally through the up and over. It goes up, it hits the thing, it mashes over, and it falls down. In this particular one, the skimmer head comes up and then eventually just kisses the bottom of that roller mat material. And then every day, the roller mat material advances 2 inches or what have you. And the real advantage of this particular device is a couple-fold. First and foremost, it takes up a lot less space in your sump, right? Because you don't have to have something that has a 9-inch or 10-inch by 10-inch footprint in the bottom of the sump. And then, it ends up going up like this. So it's just taking up in cubic inches of your sump a ton of space. So you don't need to have that. And the second thing is you don't have to have a skimmer cup and worry about emptying and cleaning, a skimmer cup all the time. It just kind of self-cleans itself. And I think that's very clever. I'm not going to get into all the things like Chris is getting into, like, I've got a lot of things in there that I think obviously can be improved. By the way, the pipe on the side, Mark, is so that the air can come out. So the air comes out, and then there's a little bit of schmutz that comes out. And that little container, it's not really what it will be when if and when schmutz. Ask Steve Berlin what that means. Steve, I think uses that word. I think I'm using it more because of Steve. Anyway, so there's many better ways that could be accomplished, but I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I missed that one. I did not see that one. It definitely looks, as someone had said, very innovative, very original. But I would have passed it by going, oh, it's a roller mat. Why don't I have the tubes out the side? But whatever. But
well, not only that,
I got to give props to it.
Not only that, being an inventor, the guy's also a emergency room doctor, if you can believe that. That's what he is, his day job. And at the same time, it really reminded me the early days of Kurt at Neptune, right? Being at a show with his stuff. And then you go up and you say, what is this and what does it do? And you get maybe 5 or 6 or 10 sentences of stuff that you're just all trying to sort out in your head. Like, okay, but why do I really want this? In like one sentence, what's the value proposition to me? Why I need this thing and what does it exactly do? So, yeah, so I tried to coach him up a little bit on his pitch, but it was really good. Really good. And and as Chris says, agree, is probably one of the most innovative objects presented, and also he's very friendly and awesome guy to speak to. So that's why I wanted to, to put it there. So people are giving you hell, buddy. Okay. Gold blue. Calling Mark's wife. Mark needs ice cold water on him. So absolutely.
I made the mistake of not eating dinner. I haven't had anything to eat since this morning. So bad. My mistake.
So also Winston puts out here, I'll just mention it briefly, that he saw me chatting and catching up with Paul. Yes, it was really nice to catch up with Paul and Kurt and even the guys from Ecotech. Had some good chats with Steve and Patrick there, and even Jay at the show, and that was really nice. And I also interviewed Paul yesterday, so that's going to be also on my Reefapalooza at Real Reefing on YouTube video. So that's going to be something to watch because it was definitely fun to be on the other side of that with Paul.
Okay, send me the link when it's up there. Let's do it. We need to do that tonight. Get it out there. Come on.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, you know how it is. Just shut yours on that one, man, because you know how long it takes to do something great. So
right. I'm cranking out a video tonight.
Yeah, you're editing it or somebody else is? Really? Okay.
Me.
All right.
That Ken Brown man, let me tell you, he like get after it. Let's go.
Yes. Okay. And Jim Graham Telegram is like, hashtag schmutz. Yeah. So good. Really good. Okay. What else did we have? Let's see. Oh, and so the same gentleman also had, this is where the combo kit, algae scrubber, and roller mat comes in. I guess this is just like a space saving kind of thing. He really couldn't explain to me what the other value benefits are. So if you're into roller mats and you're into algae scrubbers, I guess this is the way to go. I think one of the other benefits is the algae. As algae sloughs off on this, it will fall down into the roller mat probably and be whisked away into the roller mat material. So I'm sure that's part of it. Because according to Josh, at Clear River Scrubbers, he basically said that if you don't scrape the algae, it'll eventually kind of grow. And I've never used one personally, but it'll slough itself off, and then basically you can collect it or it somehow or another. I don't know.
That's what I was going to ask. I've never used a turf scrubber, and I'm like, how far down the line do you have to go for it to fall off? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah. Mark needs a Red Bull in the roller mat skimmer is putting him out. I don't know exactly, but it's all the words that were there sounded good. So
I'm just still looking at this thing like the idea of just waiting until it falls off. To me, again, I have not used one of these. Like I would want it. You don't want it perfectly clean because you want the algae to grow, but I don't want it to get so grown out that it falls off. Because then, to me, it seems like it's not as efficient.
I agree. I'm reaching here. I'm trying to help a guy out, right?
Yeah.
this would not be the product for me. And he couldn't quite explain it well, but he did have it, on at the show. So there you
Okay.
go.
All right. Well, maybe someone can chime in, but since we're
Oh,
both
and
not,
F1 happened. F1 happened today, and thankfully there was enough time for me to watch the entire race before. Thank you, Lou and Vic, for starting the show at 11 a.m. because it allowed me to see the entire race, and it was a 1-2 finish for Red Bull. Way to go, Max! And Leclerc, thank goodness, was down in 6th place, and Sainz was out in the first turn. So there's your F1 update, ladies and gentlemen, and good stuff for those that care. Sushi was consumed. This is
I missed that
my
invite.
public service announcement for anybody in Florida or visiting Orlando, for all the stuff you visit Orlando for. If you are really into really, really, really good Japanese food, not just sushi, because they have other things too that are amazing, like their Ika squid, the squid, the Ika 2 ways, and all kinds of stuff. It's called the Dragonfly in Orlando, and it still is now, but outside of Neptune, a tradition that at the end of the show, and I would imagine the guys right now are probably over at Dragonfly, without me, of course. But we went last night and had a great meal with Winston from the UK. For those of you who know Winston, he's actually on the stream here, along with his buddies Peter Bird and Juan. We all went with Nancy, of course, and had a great meal over at the Dragonfly. So I do recommend it. It was spectacular. Yes, delicious. And there's Nancy. So, very, very nice place. That's right where the Dragonfly is, just so you know. Yeah, here we are with
We're back
Clearwater.
to algae turf scrubbers.
Yeah, more algae. It's the thing, right? It is a thing. So algae turf scrubbers were a thing. The Clearwater Scrubbers owner, CEO, have you sat down with him, Josh, and talked about his latest one, which is a collaborative effort along with Kyle up at, help me out. Why can't I think of his company name right now? Up north in Canada. Help me. Kyle makes the
Adaptive Reef.
Adaptive Reef. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kyle from Adaptive Reef. He's worked with him to come up with this new design, which is smaller, more compact, easier to clean the algae screens on it. I think uses less power. Again, on my upcoming video, I did an interview with him, talk about some of the features and how algae scrubbers work and why you want one for somebody who doesn't use one. But one of the really innovative things that's in it is there's not a whole lot of plumbing. If you notice on the left on that picture, you'll see this channel that's created out of acrylic. They take one piece of acrylic and then you basically carve out a channel in it. And that's how the water goes from that little bulkhead elbow thing down at the bottom up to the top and into the body. So it reduces a lot of the plumbing and the bulk and the size and everything. Very cool device. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the previous one, but there you go. One of the things that's interesting for me on this is it's funny. Most people in the country don't think about power utilization like people from California, right? So everything on my tank that lights up or runs a motor or whatever, I do the math almost in my head of what it's going to cost me, right? So this is 60 watts. He says, no, run it 24 hours a day, right? So, that's a lot of power. What is that, 1.44 kilowatt hours or something like that? So that means that, in California, you're paying 25, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, right? Oh, gee, it's only going to cost me 30 cents a day. But still, it's $10 a month to run my algae scrubber.
Yep.
So, when you're thinking about, if you're thinking, economically or what have you, you have the cost of the device versus maybe using some other methods to pull nutrients out of your tank. It's to be thought about, right? And whether it's like the grow light that we had at Neptune Systems that still exists, or a lower power Kessel light, or whatever it may be, in a refugium, is that a better solution, Mark?
I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. Some people like the refugium idea. Some people like this scrubber idea. I found the scrubber guys are very much in their camp, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just like, if you're a scrubber guy, you're like, scrubbers the shizzle, period. So I will say though, it's powered by seat shape pumps, which is great. I looked over the thing. It's built very, very
Yes.
nicely. Some really great features in that thing. There's nothing wrong with DIY, but the first ones that I saw, for a long time, it was kind of DIY-ish. This looks very clean, very professional. Just things are like riveted out, countersunk. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Well, Kyle, I mean, that's the way Kyle puts stuff together. So I would expect nothing different from Kyle at Adaptive Reef. I hope the thing gets off the ground. They get them into retail, and it gets going, and they start to convert some more people. I had an idea on it for him that I thought would have been, and I won't. It's probably not right for me to tell it because well, anyway, a way to basically more easily get your algae off the darn thing in a more easy and clean way than the way every algae scrubber does it now, where I end up taking this thing and have to go take it to a sink and whatnot. So, an idea that basically allows you to not have to remove that stupid screen. And I think that would be the way to go, right? And and I've got the answer. So,
oh, all right.
There you go. Okay, back to this. All right, what else? Oh, Julian.
Oh, so Mr. Sprung, the man.
Yes, he is always so awesome to talk to and to interview. And, my kooky, jovial self or whatever, trying to get a crack in there to make him, laugh or whatever. He just keeps plowing down the information line. You can't really stop him. It was great. And we talked all about just mangroves and keeping mangroves and how he grows mangroves and how they, how many he has, where he collects them. I talked to him briefly about having mangrove like the one you see there and having fish, with it, freshwater fish, and having a really cool modern display like in a living room and how we might do that. Very cool. I don't know. Would you have mangroves, Mark?
Yes, I've had plenty of clients who know Julian for his mangroves that have asked about them. Keep in mind they get really big. I've thought of putting some in my refugium, which is up on the ceiling, but there's nothing growing the refugium. So it sounds cool. They look really nice. It'd be nice. Like Julian has like an outdoor saltwater pond in his backyard. I would love to have one there. Like,
with clams and acanthophilas and like all kinds of stuff in an outdoor pond. It's nuts. Yeah.
But putting that like in your fish room, maybe under his tank, forget it. But they do look cool. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just not. And even Julian will say that. He's like, just to think that you're going to grow this thing in like 30 inches or less, not really practical. Yeah.
And when they grow like this in the freshwater, the way he has them, they're so bonsai looking, and I just love it. I think what he's done, the aesthetic on it, I really, really love.
Right.
Very cool. Oh, Teddy again, trying to sneak some candy off the table. More Teddy pictures. It's basically looks like a dream box, right? From
yes.
Why am I losing the name? From the guys in Germany. Come on.
Oh, World Exclusive. Sorry.
Come on, man.
Yes.
Come on, man.
World Exclusive.
Yes. So when I walked up, I was like, oh, look, another World Exclusive dream box. Oh, wait a second. It's Deltec USA.
Okay.
What's really interesting about this, first and foremost, and she's kind of cut off in this picture, I got a chance to interview the rep there, and I don't think she's been there that long at Deltec USA. But Michelle, who is the daughter of Eddie Solar, who's like the South Florida reef keeping, guy, right?
Eddie.
You know who I'm talking about? Eddie. Yes,
yeah,
Eddie.
Yeah.
Many stories about and with Eddie, which cannot be shared here. But Eddie is such a great guy. Saw him Friday night at the bar. Talked to him for a while, and then come to find out this is his daughter who's doing this, and she was so afraid to get an interview. And I'm like, look, you just got to get the reps in. You're not going to do it any other way. I'll guide you through it. Don't worry. And I was excited to have another woman in the industry that can talk about product and whatnot, because it's such a male-driven industry, right? And so it was very refreshing. And she went over this particular product, which is really neat. On the left there is a the auto top or the auto top off reservoir. But from the right, there's a regular roller mat like you see in many of these things. Then it goes through. It has two UVs on it. That's what those right by my wrist there by the Apple Watch. You can see those two kind of white things there. Those have caps on them, and you basically, I guess, the UV tubes go in through there, and the water flows over the UV tubes, and then it goes into the main chamber with your skimmer, and then there's a little refugium section at the very end, and it goes back into your tank, and very very nice design, all out of PVC. And I think, the skimmer looked a little undersized for that size box kind of thing for me, for the tank that would probably have this. But I was impressed with the price, to be honest with you, because all included, the roller mat, the skimmer, the UV in it. Again, according to her, right, everything you saw here at the show, it was $2,350, I think, and $2,800 retail, which is a lot of money, but there's a lot there. Right, when you start adding it up.
Compared to other UV sumps on the market, that is a freaking bargain. I recently priced one out for a client. Granted, it was actually not too much bigger than that, and they wanted $10K.
Wow.
With no roller, just the sump.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of these things too. I think it's there. It's Deltec sells direct, right? So I think it's deltecdirect.com or something like that. And so you're cutting out the middleman. When you do that, you're immediately going to have a price, discount, so to speak, right? So this is not sold in the channel. So it direct from the manufacturer through one level of sales, right? Definitely helps out, as opposed to a lot of companies are coming over from Germany, come into one company who distributes the product, then over to all the stores who then sell it to you. So that is not the case. The size tank this one's rated for, I can't remember, but I think it's like 250 gallons or 300 gallons. I think this particular one, something like that. Does that sound right, Mark? Or did I get it wrong?
I did not ask. That
okay.
Seems, especially you're talking about the skimmer being small. That skimmer seems really small
for a 200, 250. Size. Yeah, but I mean the whole size of the thing though wouldn't be under a 125 gallon tank, I don't think. So.
I mean, I was going to say you're going to run out of space if that's
right.
a 200 gallon tank. You're not going to put that under a 5-foot tank. You need a 6-foot to make that work.
Correct. Wow. So yeah, 200, like a 210 maybe. Maybe that's reasonable. With a bigger skimmer, I would say up to maybe a 300 gallon tank. As far as the amount of water in the sump, I think it would work. But definitely cool. So definitely new stuff at the show. Again, really cool to see it wrap, new stuff out there. Top Shelf Aquatics was there, just selling all kinds of stuff. Right now, there's a big sale going on for Apex gear. I think the Apex is like, look, when I was there, I don't think there ever was 15% off, right? So that's, if you want to talk about what's a good thing with the aperture, it's going to mean that there might be, especially direct deals through Bulk Reef Supply, much better discounting going on some of those products. So, ultimately that might be good for the consumer. What it is for some of the resellers, though, I don't know, because obviously the money's got to come from somewhere. So either the price goes up or something's going to get squeezed somewhere, right? Something's got to give. But that's on sale.
Squeeze the man, Terrence. Squeeze the man.
Yeah. Ecotech stuff's on sale as well, so they're moving a lot of product at Top Shelf for sure. And I guess that's it. That's my whole things. You have other things too?
I have other things that will be coming on my coverage at saltwateraquarium.com's channel. But there's
you don't even want to tease them up.
I mean, let me just say, some of it you've covered here. You caught some stuff that I didn't see that is really cool. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, you've covered some of the stuff that I'll cover. What I want to really hit on with this thing is, if you weren't there, you definitely missed out on an experience of a show. It was a huge trade show hall. People were not necessarily on top of one another, but the crowd was good. The people were great to talk to. Plenty of people pulled me over and said hi. So no matter where you sit on the COVID thing, it definitely felt like everyone had moved on and we're back to normal. So it was cool to see that in a show and see the excitement. It was nice. I mean, it's, you just 2 years ago, we went to restock and thought for sure we'd be going to the next trade show in a couple
Yep.
weeks. And then that whole
Yep.
thing happened. It just reminds you that
And
life
then
can
there was
change
kind of
very
a
quickly.
weird, Reefapalooza last year with with the masks and the double, and then no masks, and then yeah, it was really weird. But somehow or another, I've made it through this whole thing, and the people in my family made this whole thing without any, let's say, COVID with symptoms. I don't know. Maybe I
Ah,
got it. Maybe we got it.
well, I
Don't
will
know, but
say, while we're talking about Reefapalooza, one thing that vendors definitely seem to like from that Reefapalooza, I don't remember where it happened right before mask mandate got lifted, or it happened
yes,
right after. Like
right after.
the
Yeah,
mask mandate lifted like 2 days before or the day before,
right.
but the idea was they would bring people in the morning, they would have a break at lunch where
Yep.
everyone could clean things, and then they would bring people different other people could come
Second
back
group.
or
Yeah.
different people come in second group. And the vendors and myself being there too is great because you got as a vendor, as you know, Terrence, it's hard to break away and eat. You're on your feet. You'd like to sit down at some point. And also, but from a vendor standpoint, the people who wanted to come in the morning and see stuff and spend money came and then they left. And then it was
Yes.
fresh faces in the afternoon who wanted to see stuff and spend money or not and then leave.
Yes.
So
Even
I
if
don't know
they weren't,
what.
even if they weren't fresh faces, right? I would, if I were doing an event and deciding, which I'm not, how to do these things, I would absolutely have the break, probably two different breaks, okay, that I would have. I would
Two.
have, I forgot, the one thing I did miss in the show is there was no educational sessions, which I think is a huge miss, okay?
Oh,
Giant
that's right.
miss. Because, it's great to go and meet people and go to all the stuff and everything, but sometimes you want to get away from that and just go catch a couple of pieces of info, right? And some of it might be repetitive, but it's nice to sit down and do that. So for me, the ideal show would be like some of the professional show events that I've been to before, like in the IT world and whatnot, which are not the giant ones, but some of the smaller ones, right? By smaller, I mean like 300 people, 400 people kind of events, right? And what happens is that you have times for the show floor and you have times for speaker times, right? And those
That
two
don't overlap.
things do not overlap, right? And so you go and you have 2 hours of speaker times, and then you have 2 hours or 3 hours that the show's open. And then you have, 2 hours of speaker times, and then, 2 or 3 hours of the show. And that does what you said. One of the things that's a huge pet peeve of mine, and the guys at Neptune know this, is, and it's been that way since I've been doing trade shows, geez, 30 some years now, right? 31 years in marketing, is there is no eating in the booth, right? You can't. It's just verboten. It is not allowed because it's gross. It's gross for you to have to interact with somebody who just happens to walk up and you've got a mouthful of food, or you're trying to sneak a bite of food or whatever it is. It looks gross around the booth when it's laying around. It's just not, it's uncouth, right? And if you have a booth where you only have one or two people and you have throngs of customers, and some people are not like me, I can go, 7, 8, 9 hours without eating and be okay. If you're not, you're going to be stuffing your face while you're trying to help customers. And that's the one thing I agree. I think it should change. And you get a chance to get a breath, to rehydrate, to be good for the next group of people. And it doesn't have to be a different group of people. But I go on.
Right. Some people would come in both. Some people just want to come
Yeah.
in and get what they get, and then they want to get out, which is great also from
Yeah.
a vendor because they have to make a decision, and then it's someone new who's excited and like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Everyone wished that had stayed, so maybe they'll bring it back. It was great to see that.
Yep.
Yeah, as you
100%.
said, absolutely, absolutely. So if you haven't gone to a trade show this year, absolutely recommend you go. There's plenty still left. There's Reefapalooza, New York coming up. There's MACNA coming up, and Terrence's favorite town that he's dying to go to, Milwaukee. At
Yes.
Reefapalooza in Orlando, there's Aquashellas. Sorry,
Yep.
Reefapalooza's in Southern California as well.
And they're
Get to a
having another
trade.
Reefapalooza in Dallas this year, too, later in the year as well, I think.
Yep. Go to a
So,
local frag shop. Like, get out there, meet some people, talk with some people. Don't get in a fist fight. We don't want any coral swap, fighting videos. But get out there and just really experience the trade shows. It's totally worth it.
And Reefapalooza, in my opinion, is the bar by which everybody else should try to achieve right now. And I think that the bar can still be higher and there can still be much more improvement, but they're doing a great job. And I can't wait to go to the New York one. And the last thing I'll say from my side, before we'll sign off, is I am going to be here in Florida and in South Florida through through next Monday. So if any of you guys want to hit me up through our channel or what have you, you have a great tank, you want me to come by and take a look at it for real reefing, send me some pictures, tell me what it is that you have that's new and cool and unique, and I'd love to stop by. We'll be over like towards Sebastian in the next couple of days, and then heading down south, and then ending up for 4 days in Fort Lauderdale, actually at the Markham campground, the Markham Broward County Park campground. So there you go. You're gonna come out, have some burgers. I'll be there. You can stop in. It's fine. You can just come in, look for the big motor
on my behalf.
We'll welcome you. It'd be fun. So we can come and talk reef stuff. So thanks for joining us. We went a little long today, but that's okay. And if you guys don't remember, we do have a website, reefingreport.com. Bookmark it, share it with other people, share this stream. Do me a favor right now, mash the like button on the stream for us, and subscribe if you haven't already. We also have, an Instagram account and Facebook and all of those other things too. So check those out as well. And we'll be back next week. And I'll be in the campground in Fort Lauderdale.
All right. Another RV week for Terrence. I'll be home. I got to travel this week, but I'll be back. So with that, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for Patrons who supported us in the past and current, and people who want to do that coming up. We will be back. Remember, throughout the week, you can check out reefingreport.com. We have news stories there. We wrap them on the live stream. And if you hear about anything, you got to let us know. There's that tip line on the website as well. With that, thanks everyone. Have a great Sunday evening. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week. Hey, and then you can come out for an audience for me also while I'm doing the live stream next week. We'll see you then. Bye.